In honor of Professional Pet Sitters Week, I'm going to share with you 7 truths about being a pet sitter. My name is Shannon, and this is my beautiful cat, Katniss, and I have been pet sitting for about 10 years. I hope that these truths will give you some insight about what it's like to work as a pet sitter, so if you're thinking about getting into the industry or if you're starting to build your business, you will know better what to expect. Truth number 1, the demand is real. I know when you're first getting started that it can seem like jobs are somewhat difficult to come by, but believe me, once you get going, you will realize just how many people out there are searching for trustworthy and reliable pet sitters. In the beginning, I highly recommend you do not limit yourself in terms of where you're searching for jobs. I would sign up on apps like Meowtel or Rover and offer services through them. I would search for Facebook groups, both like area specific, so neighborhood or city, and also pet sitter specific. I've seen lots of postings in all types of group for pet sitters. I would look on Nextdoor, which I find to be a really reliable source of kind of like side jobs in your local area. And I would definitely keep my eyes and ears open around town as I just went about my daily life. Not only have I heard this come up in conversation with people at like the gym or at an event, but even in your local area, like there's a coffee shop near my house where there's a bulletin board and people can put literally handwritten or typed messages up there if they're searching for a pet sitter. I've actually seen several pet sitting opportunities on that board. The point is, don't limit yourself, cast a wide net because you never know where that next job is going to come from. The second truth is that repeat and word of mouth business is huge. Once you have established yourself as a trustworthy and reliable pet sitter, clients will keep requesting your services over and over again. And if you think about it, this makes a lot of sense because for a lot of people, their pets are their babies, and it is not easy to find somebody that you trust to leave them with. So once you are that person, you will have more work than you know what to do with. Personally, right now, I'm operating at about 75% repeat business, so clients that have hired me in the past continue to request my services. And this is definitely an amount that has accelerated in the past few months as I've built my business more and more. Another thing is they're passing my name along to their friends and family, so essentially I don't have to market myself. Work is coming to me. So the tip here is really simple. For each and every client that you get, give the best possible service. Ultimately, that's what's going to keep them coming back to you, and there's also a lot to be said for pride in a job well done. The third truth is that scheduling can be difficult. Now, I think most people getting into pet sitting understand that you're going to have to work some weekends and holidays because that's when a lot of people leave town and that's when they're going to want your services. But what was less clear to me in the beginning is how it can actually be kind of challenging to schedule just average, ordinary tasks during a normal week when you're pet sitting a lot. So for example, doctor's appointments for which you may have to go across town, getting your car in for scheduled service or maintenance, meeting your family for dinner at a time that's convenient for everyone. Because a lot of pet sitting appointments are specific times of day, often morning and evening, that can really interfere with the time you have available to do those things. As well, it can be challenging to plan trips, and you may face a little bit of blowback from friends and family who may not always understand why your schedule doesn't really align with theirs when they're free. None of these things are insurmountable, they're just good to be aware of. I would highly recommend that you get some kind of calendar, whether it's a paper calendar like I have, or something on your computer where you schedule as much as possible ahead of time so you know what's coming up and you are less likely to be overwhelmed. The fourth truth is that owners will see you as the expert. By virtue of putting yourself out there in a professional capacity as a pet sitter, whether it's like a full-fledged full-time career or a part-time side gig, owners are going to assume you have a higher than average amount of pet knowledge. I have lost count of the questions I've been asked, like, is it okay to give my cat this medicine? Why is it behaving this way? What would you do in X medical situation? The best tip I can give with this is do not pretend to be something you're not. If an owner asks you a question that you do not know, tell them clearly you do not know the answer. I personally am happy to share my experiences, but I always preface it with where that information came from. So for example, with Katniss, I've been through this, or my vet told me that, or I read in this pet magazine this. So they know that the information is coming from a different source and I'm not necessarily trying to speak as the expert. Along those lines, I do think it's equally important to keep your knowledge as up to date as possible. And you can do this through a variety of sources: podcasts, books, magazine articles, YouTube videos, discussions with your vet, taking classes. The old saying goes, information is power, and the more information you have, the better pet sitter and even pet owner that you will be. This fifth truth is a sad one. If you do it long enough, pet sitting will break your heart. I have run into multiple difficult situations that just emotionally stick with me long after the job ends. And it took me a while to understand that this is just part of the territory. It goes along with interacting with people and their fur babies, and it can be kind of hard to accept. I have experienced everything from pets whose owners are going through a really contentious divorce and that pet is essentially being used as a pawn between the two and frankly experiencing behavior issues as a result of all the kind of tension in the household, to people going through extremely difficult financial times and they are literally crying to you in the kitchen that if things do not change soon, they're afraid they may have to surrender their precious fur baby to the local shelter, to pets who are really like dealing with chronic illness, to really unique situations that frankly I wouldn't have been able to predict that just kind of catch you off guard. Recently, I had a cat sitting job for a cat that had lost its sibling about 6 months prior, and this cat was experiencing some type of grief. It was extremely vocal and it was having like a watery diarrhea. That's all I knew about the situation. I had 2 separate jobs with this cat, and frankly, my observations of it was, other than those things, it was normal. It was eating well, it had energy, it was grooming, it loved interacting with me. It even curled up on my lap and purred one night, and when I sent a photo of this to the owners, they were really surprised. They're like, wow, he never does that with strangers. So I felt a connection. And then one day when I go to return the key, I'm essentially informed, I'm glad you're here today because this is his last day, we're putting him down. And I'm like, huh? Like in my head, I'm like, what? Like nothing I had observed would lead me to believe that would even be on the radar. And so they're telling me, yeah, we just don't think he's happy. We can tell he doesn't feel well. And one of the pictures you sent us made it clear he's lost weight. And so they've determined this is the solution. And me, the pet sitter who really doesn't know what's gone on behind the scenes, other than what I've observed on my job, is suddenly sitting there thinking, this can't be right. Like, this doesn't seem right, but is it appropriate to say anything? It was awful, frankly. It just really caught me off guard. And that situation weighed on me for days and days and frankly weeks after that happened. So the bottom line is, prepare to emotionally get involved. It's kind of impossible not to when you care about animals and you are interacting with them so frequently. Unfortunately, there's nothing you can really do to make yourself immune to this. It's going to happen, but I think being aware of it will make it a little easier to deal with. The sixth truth, and a more cheerful note, is that pet sitting will actually make it easier for you to leave your own pets when you leave for trips. Now, if you are anything like me, I absolutely hate leaving Katniss alone. I constantly worry, will she be okay? Is something gonna happen? Is she gonna be sad? Is she gonna miss me? I know for sure I'm going to miss her. And frankly, the anxiety this causes is probably a little bit abnormal, the level that I feel. It's even caused me in the past to shorten trips or even avoid a couple because I really did not want to deal with it. The unexpected silver lining of all of this is when I started pet sitting, this anxiety just got so much better. And it's because you are exposed to the other side of this. You get to see animals in their owner's absence and how they're actually behaving. And you will realize pretty quickly that things are okay. Generally speaking, these animals are happy. They're well adjusted. They may even enjoy a little bit of peace and quiet and R&R. Yes, they miss their owners, you can tell. For certain, their owners miss them. But generally speaking, I found it extremely helpful to just be like at the homes and seeing firsthand what's going on. It makes me feel comforted knowing that I can actually leave town and it's probably going to be just fine. And I don't know that I would have come to that realization if I wasn't pet sitting for so many others and seeing this scenario play out again and again and again in other people's homes. A tip here is to think about if you were the owner and you were out of town, what kind of updates and photos and videos would you like to receive? What would comfort you? What would make you feel better? And send those to your clients. So I have a policy of basically photo bombing and video bombing my clients, meaning I go above and beyond and send way more than I think they're expecting. I do that because that's what I would like to receive because that would make me feel better. And I also write down in detail like what we did, what I've noticed, and send that as like a text. Not only do my clients really appreciate this and it makes you look a lot more professional, but kind of a side benefit is that this actually serves as kind of like a form of insurance or protection. So if something were to happen, you kind of have a documented record of what was going on. The seventh and final truth, guys, is there is no better business to be in. Granted, I'm a little biased as an animal person in general, but pet sitting is just amazing. The bottom line is you are getting paid to hang out with adorable, fun pets. And at the same time, you are providing comfort to typically anxious pet parents who are out of town, and they are so appreciative for it. Additionally, since you're running your own business, you have a ton of creative freedom to do with it what you want, and you have the freedom and flexibility to set your own schedule. And personally, when I consider all of these factors, I just don't see how it can get any better. So in honor of Professional Pet Sitters Week, I hope these 7 truths gave you a little bit more insight as to what it's like to work as a pet sitter. If you have any that you would add to my list, please drop them below. I'm kind of curious what your experience has been. In the meantime, Katniss and I are so grateful to have you on our channel, and we look forward to seeing you in our next video.